August 31st, 2016. I'm back at the area the Rio called Dry Bark Wallow, just on my way into there. This pyramid structure that we had found, the amazing thing about this is right off the main trail. Probably several hundred, if not 1,000 people every year walk by it. It's within 50 feet. I'm standing on the trail and it's fully visible. But I'm willing to bet not 1 out of 100 really takes a look at it to see what it is. Because this is fully freestanding pyramid with no in-ground tree to lean against. And basically what that tells me is it had to be 2 or 3 of these Sasquatches put this up, and they had to be able to communicate. Because you couldn't build this sort of thing without that. It's about 15 feet high to that cross there where the 2 largest branches are from the ground. I try to get a little further away from it because you can't really appreciate this if you're too close to it. Several of these are broken off, as you can see, and all of them leaning, and the pressure from an overlying branch holds the underneath one in place, which is also holding up the one that's laying over top of it. I mean, it's really, really intelligently made. No way in the world. Not 1 in 10 billion could this have been just a bunch of trees that fell down all at the same time and done this. Impossible. And those big trees are way too heavy. You'd need a machinery in here. That large branch or tree that's leaning away from me has got to be a 1,000 to 1,500 pound tree. This other real large one here, long, narrow one going way up like that, to get that up in the air, humans couldn't do it. You'd have to have machinery in here, and there's been no machinery in here. I mean, there's no place for it. Anyway, this bunch of leans going up this way. Dry Bark Wallow is up this direction. You can see there's also a bunch of treelings out this way, all heading uphill here. My feeling is that these treelings aren't just for treelings. A number of them are probably as direction to territory markers. But a number of them, I feel, particularly the aspens, they're feeding on them. Because you see things like this all the time. Bark that's been stripped, and they just fall off. It came off when that bark was moist. And I didn't remember this huge number of leans from coming up here before, but we came down this way, not up. And they're just a huge kind of tunnelway of leans all the way up this hill. This is just some of them. Okay, here's the butt end of a tree that has been stuck, and it's an aspen, and it's been stuck between 2 aspens. And you can see what's happened here is all those marks, those chafes are where it rubbed as it came down, and then as it bound in between the trees, it stopped right there. Now, that did not fall there. The top of the tree is clear off over here, and this tangle of downfalls. I mean, anyone who's skeptical that something's not building this stuff really needs to see this stuff. This is impossible to fall this way. And again, every tree that's leaning, it's got the barks peeled away, with the exception of this largest one that's on the top. So, now here's a long footprint. I put my foot, size 13, next to it, and it's at least a couple inches longer, and I don't see toes. So that would even make it a few inches longer than that. There's my foot next to it. And my heel's about lined up with the heel. And the flat portion extends beyond my toes. And then there would be toes beyond that. So assuming my foot's about 12 inches, 13 inches long, this is about a 15-inch long footprint. Now, no toes, so it could be some big tall hikers up here, but I'll see if I see some more. Looks like there's one right there. We'll keep following and see what happens. Now this looks like a big track here. You can make it all the sides in the dirt. I don't know if it comes through in the picture or not. I'll put my foot over there above it. Much bigger than my foot. The toes would be right there. The heel about in line with my heel. Can't really make out toes though. And there's the teepee. I'm not sure when my battery died how much you got. This is undoubtedly a territory marker. And an important one. With all this in the way, to let other Sasquatches know, you don't mess with me. And this big tree here, I believe these are all here since we were here last time. Now I'm going to go get look at the last videos and confirm this. But I don't think this big one was laying across the bottom of the teepee. And I was here just about 2 weeks ago. I've been out of town on business for a little while. This is on the way out. Look at this mass of treelings, almost impenetrable. Obviously you can get in there, but I'm going to have to walk up there a little bit, see what all this is. This is about due south of what Rio called Satellite Wallow, and west of his tree bark wallow, not far, than a mile to half a mile. And I'm pretty convinced that this is a feeding area. All these trees about the same diameter, under 5 inches, leaning, bark stripped away. Sound like a broken record. And they're all aspens in an area with some pines to create the shade and constantly keep out of sight. You don't find this many ever in an aspen forest. And we're right next to an aspen forest, which is basically kind of the hallmark. Here's a really interesting one. I don't see this long one here. Didn't appear to come out of the ground there. It's shoved all the way along here, over the first tree that goes to the right and up, and then over a second tree, over a third tree, and then you get over here, and that's how it's up through all those other trees. It's possible it fell there. With all this other stuff in here, it's a little lower probability. Because there must be 100 leaning trees that I can see right here. I'm about 100 yards away from all that grove of leans. Now I pan over here to the aspen forest and no leans. And right here, there's a batch of about 9 or 10 aspens leaning right against that pine. And they all come out through there. And you can see there's just, a couple. I mean, I can see one.